Snoop Dogg was involved in Tupac's murder. But Netflix cut these scenes from the documentary. Snoop Dogg is even worse than Diddy, and Snoop Dogg's documentary will now be released separately.
Snoop letting Diddy rub on his hand.
Damn.
You understand? And that's where one of the exes come from. Snoop.
Can you hold it up a little bit more? Let me see how that. Oh yeah, dang.
That's what you know. We gonna go to the game and bring this thing on home. You know, we the good luck charm.
Yes, sir. Connect the dots.
That's right. We see y'all. Yeah, that's right.
That.
Does he know y'all have this in the doc?
I would doubt he knows.
So when this airs, that'll be the first time that his legal team, Diddy, that everybody knows that this footage is now seeing the light of day.
All right, so here's where things get really uncomfortable. The moment 50 Cent's Diddy documentary detonated on Netflix, something strange happened. Snoop Dogg didn't just step back, he vanished. No posts, no jokes, no smoke, nothing. And according to 50, that silence isn't accidental, it's strategic. Because what I uncovered while digging into this is darker than anyone expected. Multiple insiders are now whispering that Snoop wasn't just close to Diddy, he may have been knee-deep in the same world. Yeah, let that sink in for a second. You didn't click this video by accident. Something about Snoop's sudden disappearance felt off, and your instincts were right. Diddy, The Reckoning is now the #1 show on Netflix in both the US and the UK, and the second it dropped, Snoop went ghost. For someone who practically lives on social media, that kind of silence screams damage control. And here's what this video is about to unravel. Why Snoop pulled back the second Diddy became the main topic of conversation. Explosive claims from people who say they were actually in the room. Long-ignored clues hiding in plain sight for decades. And finally, the most jaw-dropping part, allegations tied to Kim Porter that suggest she may have caught Snoop and Diddy in a situation nobody was supposed to ever know about. Watch this all the way through, because the final piece connects everything, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. But before we get into the accusations, the receipts, and the whispers Hollywood never wanted aired out, you need to understand one thing first. Snoop and Diddy weren't just industry friends. This wasn't casual. This was closeness, access, trust. And once you understand how deep that bond really went, Snoop's sudden silence starts to look a lot less random and a lot more like fear.
Netflix making news this week with a new documentary featuring never-before-seen video of Sean Diddy Combs in moments that he clearly viewed as secret, including a high-stakes call with his lawyer just days before his now infamous arrest, plus Diddy reacting in real time as new lawsuits dropped against him. Combs has publicly objected that he says the videos were, quote, stolen.
When 50 Cent's documentary dropped, it didn't just trend, it took over Netflix. Overnight, everybody was talking. Diddy's name was everywhere. Victims finally speaking out, chilling stories about those so-called freak-off parties. A full breakdown of what Diddy is allegedly accused of, laid out in a way that was impossible to ignore. The whole thing was heavy, uncomfortable, the kind of intense that makes you pause the screen just to breathe for a second. But here's where things start getting weird. While the internet was on fire, reactions, think pieces, celebrities weighing in, fans dissecting every frame, one voice was noticeably missing. Snoop Dogg. No comments, no jokes, no cryptic posts, nothing. Just complete radio silence. And let's be real for a second, this is the same Snoop who comments on everything in hip-hop. From beefs to memes to industry drama, he's always got something to say. So when someone like that suddenly goes quiet, it's not normal. It's suspicious, and that silence, that's where this story really begins. Now check this out.
So you know, Puffy's sons and my sons have been best friends since they were 6, 7 years old. I didn't make it happen and Puffy didn't make it happen. One night I was at my house and Puffy's son was over about like 9 o'clock. And I'm like, cuz, what time you going home? And he like, I'm spending the night. I'm like, did you tell your dad? He like, nah, my mom dropped me off. So Kim, rest in peace, was connecting my kids with Puff kids, and they formed a friendship and a bond. When Justin went to UCLA, my son went to UCLA. When Christian was rapping, my son was rapping. When he was modeling, they was flying over the world together. So they forged a friendship and a brotherhood that me and Puff always had.
Snoop didn't even try to distance himself quietly. He went on TV and confirmed just how deep the connection really was. He openly said his sons and Diddy's sons have been best friends since they were 6 years old. Same circles, same childhood, same inner rooms. He talked about how their families were inseparable, how Kim Porter, Diddy's late ex, was the one bringing all the kids together for playdates, birthdays, holidays. When Justin went to UCLA, Snoop's son went to UCLA. When Christian decided to rap, suddenly Snoop's son was rapping too. These weren't coincidences. These families were intertwined at every level: personal, professional, generational. So let me ask you this. When someone you're that close to gets publicly exposed for extremely serious alleged crimes, and your immediate response is to vanish completely from the public eye, what does that tell you? Because most people, if they're innocent, say something, anything, even a vague statement, even a denial. Silence like that doesn't calm suspicions, it feeds them. And let me be clear, I'm not throwing out accusations as facts. I'm pointing out patterns that don't sit right, patterns that raise questions. And once you start asking those questions, things get uncomfortable fast. Because the allegations connected to Diddy aren't small. We're talking about claims involving so-called freak-off parties, situations where lines were allegedly crossed, and whispers that Snoop was seen in compromising moments alongside Diddy. And then it gets darker, much darker, with claims floating around about possible involvement in trafficking-related environments, allegedly. Emphasis on allegedly. But still, these aren't rumors you just brush off. So if this already feels heavy, this is your warning. Because it doesn't get lighter from here. And if you actually want to understand why Snoop's silence has people side-eyeing everything he's ever done, we need to rewind and look at his behavior over the years. Because once you start spotting the patterns, you can't unsee them.
You, nephew, take that top card. When I die, I want my last words to be, I did it.
Remember that old TV moment when Diddy casually said, "When I die, I want my last words to be, I did it"? At the time, people laughed it off. A weird flex, a rich guy joke, but go back and watch it now, and don't watch Diddy, watch Snoop. The camera catches his face for just a second, and it's not confusion, it's not shock, it's that tight, uneasy smile, like someone who understands exactly what was just said without a single word needing to be explained.
Walk into a party, standing in there, puffy, Drake, what do you say?
First of all, you know I don't go to those type of parties. You know, I'm straight.
That clip is making the rounds again, and this time it hits completely different. What once looked like banter now feels like a private moment that accidentally went public, almost like an inside joke between two people who share information the rest of us were never supposed to hear. And that's what's chilling about it, the familiarity, the comfort, the silence that follows. It doesn't look innocent, it looks knowing. And here's the thing, that moment on its own would be easy to dismiss. But when you stack it next to everything else, the silence, the closeness, the timing, it stops feeling random. It starts feeling intentional, like pieces of a puzzle sliding into place. And trust me, if that clip makes your skin crawl, brace yourself. Because from here on out, it doesn't just get worse, it gets disturbing.
Good, happy to have you back, my man.
Man, I ain't with nowhere. I'm closer than you think.
Yeah, man, I had to run it back. I mean, the people rock with you, so, you know, it was only right, man. So I gotta ask you, because over the years, man, there's been a lot of confusion. When Tupac got shot in Vegas, was Snoop at the hospital?
So, Snoop didn't go nowhere near the hospital. So when it happened, as you know, for some strange reason, but now we know the real reason, Snoop did not attend the fight with us or the club, the after party at Club 662. And it was so crazy about that, we thought it was strange that he wasn't there. This is the first one he did attend. And according to Warren G and everybody else, now we know why he didn't. But to get straight to the point was this. I was at my house in Vegas, and I started calling Snoop, telling him, hey, what's up? You know, like it's something wrong with this situation. Pac in the hospital, come holler at him, come check on him. So he drove down, and I was at the house waiting on him. And Tupac's mother was at my house.
Now this is where the story takes a really dark turn. Suge Knight is sitting in prison right now, serving a life sentence, and because of that, people say he has nothing left to protect. No image, no industry ties, no reason to sugarcoat anything. And recently, Suge dropped a claim that sent shockwaves through hip-hop history all over again. According to Suge, the night Tupac was shot in Las Vegas was not supposed to go down the way it did. Snoop was allegedly supposed to be there with them. Same plans, same tickets, Mike Tyson fight, club afterward, everything locked in. But then at the very last minute, Snoop didn't show, no fight, no club, no explanation, and Suge claims this was the first time ever Snoop had skipped an event like that with them. The timing alone makes people raise an eyebrow. Then Tupac gets shot. He's fighting for his life in the hospital, and even then, according to Suge, Snoop still doesn't come around. Suge says he starts calling him over and over like, "What's going on? Pac is in the hospital, you need to come see him." Eventually, Snoop drives over to Suge's house in Vegas, and this is where the story gets uncomfortable. Suge says Tupac's mother was already there, understandably devastated, and when Snoop walks in, instead of rushing to the hospital or asking how Pac is doing, he allegedly says something chilling, that Tupac hates him right now and is angry with him. Then, according to Suge, Snoop breaks down, crying, shaking, and even throwing up, physically sick. Now that's Suge's version of events, but people listening to this story can't help but ask, what kind of reaction is that? Fear, shock, or guilt? You decide. But it doesn't stop there.
I look at real plain and simple. Ain't no whistleblower. Facts is there. But right now, I don't care if it's T.I., I don't care if it's Rick Ross, I don't care if it's Jay, I don't care if it's Snoop, I don't care if it's Game, I don't care if it's Dre. Nobody's stepping up on the fact that you know what's going on.
Nobody's defending him.
You're right. Guys at Interscope.
Things get even stranger when Warren G., who is family to Snoop, confirmed that Snoop was actually at his house that night watching the fight on TV. And allegedly, Snoop wasn't just sitting there casually. He reportedly had a walkie-talkie with him, not a toy, not a random radio. Suge claimed these were high-level security radios that worked across long distances, the kind only used by organized security teams during major events. So the question people are now asking is this: why would Snoop allegedly have a security radio while sitting miles away from the scene? Why would anyone need that unless they were trying to hear what was happening in real time? And here's the part that makes people uncomfortable. Multiple witnesses have claimed they heard someone on that radio say, "Got him," right after Tupac was shot. Now let me be very clear. These are allegations, claims, stories told years later by people with their own histories and controversies. Nothing here has been proven in court. But when you line up the missed appearance, the silence, the emotional breakdown, the radio, and the timing, people start asking questions they never asked before. I'm not telling you what to believe, I'm just laying out what's being said and letting you decide whether this sounds like coincidence or something much darker hiding in the shadows.
Snoop Dogg and Death Row? Y'all don't love us? Y'all don't love us!
All on the record, dancing, come to Death Row.
But I was like, damn, we on the same record label. I know these people are really thinking like we are like Coast, West Coast. We got beef with the people we got beef with. But we could go anywhere in the country because we are America's most wanted.
And it's not just Suge making noise. Fans have gone full detective mode, digging back into old interviews from the 1990s frame by frame, body language, side eyes, awkward pauses, and once you start watching closely, the tension is hard to ignore. Every time Snoop is around Tupac, people say he looks uneasy, restless, not fully present. There's this nervous energy like he's constantly measuring the room instead of relaxing in it. What really sets people off is how he positions himself during the East Coast versus West Coast beef. In group settings, fans point out that Snoop often appears closer to Diddy's circle than Death Row's, physically and socially. Back then, people were already talking. Whispers of betrayal weren't a new thing. Some fans were straight up saying in real time that Snoop wasn't fully loyal to Tupac. But most folks brushed it off. Why? Because Snoop had that untouchable image, smooth, calm, unbothered, too cool to be calculating. Now with everything coming back into the spotlight, those old clips hit differently. What once looked like chill energy now looks like discomfort. What looked like neutrality now looks like choosing sides. And suddenly people are saying the signs were always there, we just didn't want to see them. And here's the warning, because from this point on, things stop being speculative and start getting genuinely disturbing. So take a breath, because we're about to go there.
Even Snoop. You understand? A lot of more people, their career went up when they sat on this man's lap. That's the director. You understand?
Oh, man.
And that's why a lot of them sold their soul to be on the director chair.
Tell us some of the differences between the PG version of the book and the R-rated. Like, what was changed in to the PG version?
The rated book got Snoop letting Diddy rub on his hand.
Damn.
You understand? And that's where one of the X's come from, Snoop.
Can you hold it up a little bit more? Let me see how that. Oh yeah, dang.
You understand? We don't hold our man hand. We shake it and get it back in our pocket.
Right.
You understand? They got Diddy and Neo. And if you heard Neo's wife call him Little Diddy, that he like freak off, get high and get freak off. They all baby oil you up.
Oh man, what the hell is that?
You understand?
Yo.
Eyes
not
wide.
him and his son. That's his son, right?
Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Wow. Damn.
And you got Andre Harrell. He hugged up like they finished tongue kissing.
Yeah.
You know, we don't hug on our boys like that, sitting that close on each other's lap. You know what I'm saying? Then we got Snoop and Diddy, you know, in an appropriate way. But the reason why they in there is to speak about that.
Now this is where the whispers turn into something a lot heavier. A man named Courtney Burgess recently stepped forward, a music industry veteran with over 35 years in the game, not some random blogger, not a TikTok theorist, and he claims he's in possession of what he calls Kim Porter's real memoir, not the book that was published and later rejected by her children, but an entirely separate manuscript that allegedly never saw the light of day, the one Kim supposedly kept hidden. According to Courtney, Kim was documenting everything. Photos, notes, receipts. He says she knew how dangerous Diddy allegedly was and understood that certain truths couldn't come out while she was alive, so she protected the material, locked it away, and before her mysterious death in 2018, Courtney claims she handed all of it over to someone she trusted, and what he says is inside that memoir, that's where things get uncomfortable fast. Courtney alleges there are photos showing Snoop and Diddy together in ways that don't line up with how straight men typically interact. Prolonged physical contact, lingering touches, moments that feel intimate rather than casual. He specifically describes one image where Snoop allegedly allows Diddy to rub his hand in a way Courtney calls inappropriate. Not a quick dap, not a handshake, something that lasts too long to explain away. During the interview, redacted versions of some of these photos were shown, faces blurred, identities obscured. But even with that, viewers pointed out the body language, the closeness, the positioning, things that raise eyebrows. Courtney put it bluntly, men don't hold their homeboy's hand, you shake it and keep it moving. And according to him, that's not what these images show. He also claims the memoir documents similar alleged photos involving Diddy and other male celebrities, names like Neo and Andre Harrell get mentioned, all supposedly captured and archived by Kim Porter herself. Again, these are claims, allegations, Courtney's account. Nothing has been proven in court. And I'll be honest, when this first surfaced, a lot of people brushed it off as gossip, industry rumors recycled for clicks. But what made some folks stop laughing is this. Parts of Courtney's story began lining up with details later referenced in a federal investigation. Not confirming everything, but enough overlap to make people pause.
You've been able to see it all. Are you surprised at what is happening with Diddy right now?
Very surprised. I'm ultimately surprised. Like, I don't be expecting none of this type of things to be happening. You know, like I say, when I was given my position of power and given my position of, you know, leadership, I like to take advantage of it and treat people good and make sure that people that work with me don't feel like they work for me. And when they're ready to leave, and if we have a misunderstanding, if there is a separation, it's ended on love. It's never bad vibes or anything of that nature. So I try to be a better boss based off of the bosses that I was around when I was just an employee, just an artist. So I try to like take the good things that they did and subtract the bad things that they did. Some of the things I didn't know what they did because I was only entitled to certain information as an artist or a friend. So as a businessman, I've learned to just be good to people because I know what it feels like to have bad business done on you and to have bad contracts. So I try to give my people that I do business with a great experience so that way at the end of the day, you know, we feeling good about each other and we don't have to end up facing each other, talking about how bad we treated each other.
She revealed that someone contacted her trying to sell a tape, a so-called freak-off tape featuring Diddy and another celebrity. And here's the kicker. According to her, this other person is even more high-profile than Diddy. Bigger name, bigger fame. Mitchell confirmed she's seen stills from the video. She says the other person's face is clearly visible, and it was filmed at Diddy's Atlanta home. But the disturbing part? The other celebrity doesn't appear to know they're being recorded. According to Mitchell, it doesn't look like they're actively participating. It looks surreptitious. And yes, she confirmed the footage is graphic in nature. Legally, she can't name the other celebrity, but multiple independent sources have now started pointing to the same name, Snoop Dogg. Different insiders, same answer. And when you start connecting the dots, the timing becomes even more chilling. Kim Porter dies suddenly in 2018, a healthy 47-year-old woman, and allegedly she had all this evidence documenting Diddy and Snoop. The coincidence is, well, let's just say it raises serious questions. And here's the part that really makes this stick. This isn't random gossip from the internet. These are first-hand witnesses, people who were actually there, people who saw things with their own eyes. Not speculation, not hearsay, but accounts from insiders who can't just be dismissed. And when you start piecing all of this together, the tape, the timing, the witnesses, suddenly the story everyone thought they knew starts looking a lot darker than anyone expected.
Dude is a demon, bro. Dude is a demon. That dude was possessed with some kind of demon, man. He was possessed with some kind of demon. Wanna be in all this red, this dark rooms with the music blasting. It had to be a certain temperature, a certain type of music for the vibration they were saying. Come on, bro. And I don't care what nobody say, man. And like, when people still talk and keep on talking, if that priest ever come out and he talking, if people keep talking, you'll find out that a lot of shit that Gene Deal has said has been the truth and nothing but the truth. I was there.
Now this is where the story crosses from uncomfortable into straight up unsettling. Gene Deal, Diddy's former personal bodyguard, a man who was around him for years, recently came forward and described what he says he witnessed behind closed doors. And his words weren't subtle. Gene flat out claimed Diddy was demon-possessed. His words, not mine. Gene described parties that weren't just wild, they were ritualistic. He talked about rooms kept at specific temperatures, certain types of music playing to create vibrations, atmospheres that felt intentional, calculated, not random, not normal. He claimed there were moments where what looked like a priest or some kind of spiritual figure would rub substances on Diddy's head. And then came the part that still gives people chills. According to Gene, Diddy was instructed to take a white dove from a cage and throw it into the air. But instead of flying, the bird reportedly dropped straight to the ground like it had no strength, no wings. Gene said he had never seen anything like that in his life, not before, not since. And the way he tells it, the room went dead silent. And here's where Snoop's name gets pulled back into the conversation. Multiple people are now claiming that Snoop wasn't just showing up to regular celebrity parties. They allege he was present at gatherings like this. That he didn't just witness the darker side, he allegedly participated. Not a bystander, not an outsider, but someone who knew exactly what kind of energy these events carried. Again, these are claims, allegations, accounts from people who say they were there, but when you stack them next to everything else, the silence, the footage, the witnesses, the timing, it starts painting a picture that's deeply disturbing. And if you think this is as dark as it gets, brace yourself. Because what comes next is even worse.
I knew that Snoop Dogg, again, mentioned him in December of 2020, but everybody beat the hell out of me. Screw you, that can't be true. What the hell do I know, right? And then recently it just came out again that Snoop Dogg got accused of trafficking children. And what did everybody do? Ooh, Snoop Dogg is at the halftime. I'm going to the halftime.
This next part is intense, so pay attention. A woman named Allie Carter has been speaking out for years. A survivor of child trafficking who has been calling out both Diddy and Snoop Dogg since 2020. And for years, nobody believed her. She was attacked online, smeared, called crazy, told to stay quiet. But now, as more evidence and allegations come to light, people are finally starting to see that what she was saying might have been closer to the truth than anyone wanted to admit. Allie didn't just make accusations, she dropped a bombshell about influence. She claims Snoop Dogg is actually more powerful and influential in these circles than Diddy. According to her, Back in December 2020, Snoop was accused of trafficking children, but what happened? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. The public continued to celebrate him, from Super Bowl halftime appearances to buying his merchandise, treating him like a hero. And she made a pointed, unforgettable observation: we canceled Dr. Seuss and Aunt Jemima, but we're okay with someone accused of trafficking? Think about that. The contrast is staggering. And Allie's question hits at the heart of a truth most people don't like to admit: we don't cancel people equally. Fame, influence, and public image give some people a shield that no amount of wrongdoing seems able to pierce. And that selective justice? It's exactly why people are finally paying attention to what she's been saying all along.
Did y'all know that Snoop Dogg and Diddy were best friends with Tupac? Diddy is like a black Clinton. Anybody know that? Everybody say don't mess with Diddy. Diddy is like a black Clinton, because you know there's a black. So they say that nobody messes with Diddy. There's a reason for that. You can ask Kanye. He'll tell you. He's trying to. He really trying to, but in a minute he's gonna get a little sick. Probably not Martin Luther King, that's a whole other story. Martin Lawrence, you know, that running out in the middle of the street acting a damn fool. He's probably gonna have one of those reset issues or something like that. And then I'll start it too that, you know, Kanye didn't, but he's trying to. But then, you know, programming breaks and then it clashes and then, you know.
Here's where the story dives even deeper into the dark and twisted web connecting Snoop, Diddy, and Tupac. Allie Carter revealed some chilling insights about their relationship. She says all three were friends at one point, but heavily implies that Snoop and Diddy were secretly working together while betraying Tupac behind his back. She even compares Diddy to a black Clinton, saying nobody messes with Diddy for a reason, and then she drops another bomb: Kanye. She claims Kanye tried to expose some of this truth, and suddenly started acting strange, almost like he was being threatened or programmed to stop talking. The whole thing is a mix of power, fear, and manipulation, really dark, really twisted. Now I know some of you are thinking, okay, but where's the actual proof? That's fair. And here's the kicker. Federal investigators do have proof. They seized computers, hard drives, flash drives from Diddy's properties, and according to multiple sources, Snoop's name keeps coming up in sealed testimony. And it gets even more revealing when you look at Snoop's pattern of lying. Once you start connecting the dots, it becomes clear he's been misrepresenting his involvement for decades. There's a video going around breaking down all of Snoop's lies about Tupac. In it, he tells this elaborate story about running into Nas in New York during the East Coast-West Coast beef, painting Tupac as aggressively confronting Nas. It sounds like an intense, pivotal moment, but here's the problem. Nas made a rebuttal video, saying Snoop wasn't even there. Other Outlaw's members who were actually close to Tupac confirmed the same. So why fabricate a story about an event he didn't witness? The answer is chillingly strategic. Snoop inserts himself into Tupac's narrative to maintain street credibility, to make everyone believe he was loyal, a ride-or-die friend until the end. Because if the truth ever came out that he betrayed Tupac and was secretly aligned with Diddy, his entire career and legacy would collapse. Think about it. How many interviews has Snoop given where he gets emotional talking about Tupac? How many times has he used Tupac's name to elevate his own reputation? It's not nostalgia, it's calculated. Every tear, every story, every nod to Tupac's memory is part of a carefully curated act, designed to protect his image, preserve his credibility, and keep the real story buried.
We thought it was strange that he wasn't there. This is the first one he did 10, and according to Warren G and everybody else, now we know why he didn't. But to get straight to the point was that.
Now this is one of the strangest and most disturbing claims Suge Knight has ever put out there. He talked about something insiders call the boiled egg test. I'm not even going to spell out the details because they're graphic, inappropriate, and honestly unsettling. But according to Suge and others, it's allegedly a ritual young artists are forced to endure to prove they're willing to do anything for fame. No limits, no morals, just obedience. And according to those same claims, Snoop passed it. That's the allegation. That's the story that keeps resurfacing. And people who believe it say that's why his career didn't just rise, it exploded. One minute he's new on the scene, the next he's untouchable. Global icon. Overnight success that didn't follow the usual rules. Here's where it gets eerie. Snoop is publicly obsessed with boiled eggs, and not in a normal way. He posts about them constantly, jokes about them, works them into his branding, mentions them in interviews like it's an inside joke. And some people believe that's not random. They think it's signaling, a quiet nod to others in the industry. A way of saying I'm in, I passed, I belong. Sounds insane on its own, but when you stack it with everything else, even the weird details start to feel intentional. Now let's talk about damage control, because if there's one thing Snoop has mastered, it's optics. Right when the Diddy allegations started heating up, right when the spotlight started drifting uncomfortably close, Snoop suddenly gets named an honorary US coach for the Winter Olympics. Think about that timing. Massive platform, pure positivity, fun uncle energy, headlines about how lovable and iconic he is, a perfect distraction. And it didn't stop there. Suddenly he's everywhere. T-Mobile commercials, The Voice, NFL coverage, family-friendly, wholesome mainstream America. It's like a switch flipped overnight, flooding the public with good vibes before anything ugly could stick.